Welcome to our channel, your go-to source for everything Sigma male. We explore the unique traits, psychology, and relationships of Sigma males, uncovering what sets them apart. If you're fascinated by this mindset and lifestyle, stick around. You won't want to miss what we have in store.
The dark side of Sigma male independence. In the fading light of an empty city, Michael walks alone. His steps echo through the quiet streets as dusk wraps around him like a shroud. He moves with purpose, yet there's no real destination. People pass by, distant figures blurred by the orange haze of streetlights, but none of them seem to notice him. They're immersed in their own worlds, connected to each other in ways Michael has long forgotten how to be. He doesn't resent them for it, he's chosen this path. Independence. Solitude. It's what makes him a Sigma. Michael used to relish the feeling of being alone, of carving out his own space in the world. But lately, the silence has felt heavier, like a thick fog settling in his chest. He tells himself it's just a phase. After all, self-reliance is the key to success. And yet, as he rounds the corner and walks into the heart of the city, the sight of bustling cafes and crowded bars stirs something uncomfortable inside him. His steps falter for a moment before he presses on. Michael's workspace reflects his life, minimalist, efficient, and entirely his own. The walls are bare, save for a few framed photos of landscapes he once visited on solo trips. His desk is meticulously organized, with every tool and gadget in its rightful place. Night after night, he sits here, working late into the evening, with only the distant hum of traffic below to remind him that life goes on outside these walls. He used to thrive in this environment, finding comfort in the quiet and control over his surroundings. But now, the silence feels less like a choice and more like a consequence. He leans back in his chair, glancing at the unused chair on the other side of the desk. Once upon a time, colleagues would stop by, eager to collaborate or chat. But as Michael's dedication to his work grew, his interactions with others dwindled. He convinced himself that cutting out the distractions would help him focus, but now, the empty chair feels like a ghost of a past he can't quite escape. A few streets away, Michael finds himself standing in an alley, watching groups of people laughing and chatting as they spill out of a nearby bar. The sound of their laughter is muted from where he stands, as if he's watching the world from behind glass. He is close enough to hear the joy but remains rooted in the shadows, invisible. He turns and walks away, his steps heavier now. If he were honest with himself, he would admit that he has no one to laugh with. Independence has become his armor, but every passing day makes it feel more like a burden. Back at his apartment, the cityscape glows outside his window, neon lights casting strange reflections on the glass. Michael catches his own reflection, his face pale, his eyes darkened from sleepless nights. He stares into the glass, seeing the version of himself he's hidden from for so long. The world outside is alive, teeming with energy and connection. His reflection, on the other hand, is cold, almost a shadow of who he used to be. He wonders if he even knows how to connect with others anymore. It's been so long since he tried. As he rubs his temples, a dull ache spreads through his head. The hours of work, endless tasks, and constant striving have yet to bring him the sense of fulfillment he once believed they would. Michael sits in the dim light of his apartment, the ghosts of unfinished conversations swirling around him. He thinks about the friends he used to have, the relationships he let slip away in pursuit of his independence. He told himself that freedom was more important than companionship, but now, the silence is suffocating. The next day, Michael attends a meeting. It's a routine gathering at the office, where colleagues share ideas, laugh, and interact with ease. He watches from the sidelines, as he often does, his thoughts 1,000 miles away. It's not his place to lead this meeting, but the sense of alienation grows heavier. He used to pride himself on his ability to work alone, to achieve success without relying on others. But now, the isolation feels more like a prison than a sanctuary. He remains silent, observing, wondering if anyone even notices his absence from the conversation. Later, as he leaves the building, Michael finds himself at a literal crossroads. Two paths stretch before him, one dark and empty, much like his current life, the other warm, leading to a distant light. He pauses, staring down the darker path. It's familiar, comforting in its predictability. But something holds him back. He looks toward the brighter path, wondering what lies ahead. It's not an easy decision. His independence has defined him for so long that the thought of changing feels like a betrayal of everything he's worked for. But he can't shake the feeling that there's more to life than this endless cycle of solitude. That night, The weight of everything presses down on him like a storm. He drops into a chair, burying his face in his hands. The apartment feels smaller than ever, the walls closing in as the clouds gather in his mind. He's mentally and emotionally exhausted, the loneliness overwhelming. He's spent so long convincing himself that he doesn't need anyone, but now, the darkness is closing in, and there's no one to pull him out. And then, in the quiet of the storm, a single ray of light pierces through the clouds. Michael lifts his head, blinking in the sudden brightness. It's subtle, barely noticeable at first, but it grows stronger as he sits up straighter. For the first time in a long while, he feels a glimmer of hope. The path doesn't have to be so isolating. There is strength in independence, yes, but there's also power in connection. Slowly, he begins to stand. The following day, Michael meets a colleague in a coffee shop. It's a small gesture, something he might have avoided in the past. Their handshake is hesitant, almost awkward, but it's the first step. Conversation flows slowly at first, but eventually, it picks up. Michael realizes that connection doesn't have to threaten his independence, it can enhance it. He doesn't have to choose between the two. The realization feels like a weight lifting off his shoulders. Later that evening, Michael walks down a brighter street, the desolate urban jungle now behind him. People pass by, not close enough to invade his space but not so far away that they're untouchable. He smiles to himself, feeling lighter than he has in years. He's on a path that finally makes sense, a balance between solitude and connection. As the sun sets, Michael stands at the edge of a peaceful landscape, the horizon stretching out before him. Behind him, faint figures linger, distant but present, reminding him that while independence is valuable, sometimes the company of others can enhance the journey. He takes a deep breath and walks forward, the weight on his shoulders lighter than it's been in years.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Sigma male mindset, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content. Join our growing community and stay tuned for more insights into the Sigma way of life.